of the, they've already got control of the people, the town people, and they're gonna take control of all the politicians and the agencies, BL and Forest Service. And Stanley Ellison told me a long time ago, we'd run horses there with Leonard Shepard would come up and fly horses for us. And he said then, he said, get every horse. Don't leave one horse out there. Get them all. Because if you don't, why, it's just going to eat this thing up.
Well, in these horse herds, if you listen to these experts, they talk about a horse herd will increase 20% a year. So, you know, you don't have to be very good at math. In 5 years, you got 100% increase.
See, the sad part of it is they're not Mustangs. They're horses that got out, they wrangled, they get them in every year and give them a shot, or they branded them and turn them back out, and they do all this and that. They're not even Mustangs. And the thing is that it's hurt a lot of businesses because it's taken the rights away from the cattle people who do bring in a lot of money in there. But it's a sad thing because they're just a bunch of do-gooders, and they don't know that starving to death isn't a very pretty thing. And that's what those horses do, because like Jim said, there was no fences years ago, and there was Mustangs or wild horses, but they had nowhere to go. But the ranchers, like Jim said, we all gathered them, or we got them enough, and we shot a lot of them. I'm not going to say we didn't, but the thing is, there was you got rid of them. But it's just something today that I don't understand, how people, they talk about loving horses. They can't love them very much when you see some dead in the corner from starvation.
Well, in a horse, they keep talking about wild horses, but actually a horse is not a wild animal. They're domestic animal. They don't have a migration instinct like deer or elk or
They
something.
can't migrate. Too many fences.
You know, if they want to go someplace, they can't go nowhere. That big red fence they built out there in the desert, you know, over there towards Paradise Valley and whatever, you know, it stopped all that migration pattern and put that fence up. But anyway, do you think they'll ever, in anybody's lifetime, not necessarily us sitting at the table, but that they'll ever slaughter these Mustangs ever again? They'll open a slaughterhouse and slaughter them?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that these people, like the lady that, you know, that so stuff on her, I don't like to say her name, but anyway, but I don't think so. I think they got all these people like here in our area here. You know, every place you look, there's a horse in somebody's yard, and they're good for the hay market. But they don't do much with them. When they get tired of them, they turn them out.
Right. Let's talk about the wagon and the use of the wagon in relationship to what you gentlemen did all your life. You got out there with the cattle, you were close, you camped with the cattle. Was it a much more efficient way of operating than hauling guys out in a gooseneck trailer at 5 o'clock in the morning and starting to work cattle?
Well, I tell you what, today it's a harder way to do it. All I see is four-wheelers going out to get them.
That would happen too.
What do you feel about the wagon, Jim?
Well, I personally like the wagon aspect of it better. The gooseneck thing is great, but you don't get your horses broke. Maybe you're only gonna ride 10 miles all day, and if you gooseneck them out. But if you trot them out 10, 15 miles, make a big circle, drive your cattle back, time you get that horse's attention, well, he's wanting to work cattle, and he's going to do it the easiest way he can. The bucking thing's going to be out of him, and it'll be business, and it'll be all business. And I personally don't know how these guys start horses today, because if they're going down the road a mile, they're going to load him in the trailer, haul him down the mile.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's probably why that ranch market, ranch horses, you know, they call them, that are broke and somebody can do something. That's why that market's held up, because there's so few of those anymore that people can go and just sell one and get on. Is that correct, Tom?
That's pretty correct, yeah.
Yeah, there's
Like
just,
the Van Norman sale,
Right.
all those nice general horses were sold for a lot of money.
Right.
And everything, but there's a few areas that they do a good job of starting colts yet, but there's not many. But like Jim said, it takes quite a lot of miles to get a horse dependable, you know, and that why the old way it was better. You could take a horse started at 6 years old, and like he said, they could be pretty rank for a while, but they kind of got to be pretty good horses after a while.
if you
And,
rode.
yeah, but you take today, unless they're just those little horses that are pretty raised for arenas and everything, and I don't understand how they get the work done now with all these ranch rodeos.
Guys are never at home.
Oh, you guys.
When did they start fencing this country? When did things change there?
When did they start fencing the country, yes?
Oh, it would have been in the early 60s or maybe the late 50s.
Didn't Leroy get most of those contracts out
Yeah.
there?
You know what, they started out kind of nice in the fact that they would, it was nice for the small operator, like my father, 600-700 cows, and he could go, they put them boundary fences in, so two or three guys one day could go and gather all the cattle. The big ranches, why, it took more fencing than the perimeter fences was great, but it cut down the repping and the traveling and that.
Right.
But you still had a big area to work in. And the fences, to me, why ruined the country, because there was so many fence corners that was drew up on a map that nobody'd ever seen, and cattle could get in a fence corner, and then if come a snowstorm,
That's it, right?
that was the end of it.
That was it.
Right, yeah. They drift till they hit a fence.
Yeah.
The, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of good men with the BLM, but the average young person that works for the BLM doesn't know what the hell they eat.
You mean the
Yeah.
cow or the BLM guy?
The BLM guy.
How long
Oh.
after they started fencing things did you guys see a difference in the country? You know, you talked about when those cows could go 100 miles, or they could see where it was raining and move over there. I mean, how long did it take after they started chopping it up for you? Did you start seeing a difference in the country pretty soon?
They think that livestock people are dumb, that they don't know how to manage their own cattle. And it's kind of, that they're not going to turn a bunch of cows out and let them starve to death. But they think that they, like down at Battle Mountain this year, they made them gather all those cattle. Of course, it was a drought year, but they weren't going to leave those cattle out there anyway. But, you know, where they're going to starve, they're going to do something. So it makes it tough, because it's just more government control. And our freedom is going pretty damn fast. You know, I feel.
Tell us about, you got into the cotton horse business pretty big during that period of
Yeah,
time, right? When that was after the James come in, the sheep were gone then,
Mm-hmm. Well,
and then you got into the cotton horse
I was
business.
kind of one of these horse crazy people, you know.
Really?
And
Why is your wife laughing?
and so I kind of got to seeing some of these horses cut, and I kind of got interested, and I went and got Leon Harold was one of the great ones, and I got around him, and he got me even started more. So then when we sold our outfit, to Tamares, we were in pretty bad financial shape, so I thought I could make a living, and we went to California, and I had a lot of great help, but those good cutters helped me, and so we got a lot of good horses, so they're the ones that helped me, and so we did pretty well, yeah, but so it was a new experience for me handling people, you know, the people that own horses aren't exactly easy. If you win, there's something wrong. If you lose, there's something wrong. But I did,
Really?
but I had a good life out of it. Yeah, we did very well. And then I had a lot of good people teach me, like Tom Dorrance. And Jim Dorrance was a great influence in our life because he was a worker and different ones, more so than even Tom. Tom was great, but they had a different way of doing things than we had grew up with. And I was raised around Elmer Nunes and Johnny Lamont and those guys. And I started a lot of colts with Johnny Lamont. So it was pretty much the same thing, only more of a Spanish background. These things, I do admire Tom Dorrance, and them are great. But that horsemanship was started 2,000 or more years ago. And it has come up, and you know what I mean? Everybody has a different way and a lot of different ways. The only thing I see that Tom and Ray Hunt and those guys did, they did make people conscious that there was a better way of doing something. You know, but as far as going back into things when we were kids, I think those horses were started just as good, and you know, they had a job to do, and I think that those old buckaroos that I grew up around, when they were sure good to me as a kid, didn't know shit and thing. And everything, but I think
Nothing, but they just go straight ahead after the cow. Well, I think one time Jim and I were visiting and, through the years, and he said, well, we kind of used the two-step method, you know. You pulled up your latigo and stepped up, and you just hope for the best. Is that right, Tim?
You bet. Pull your hat down and your cinch up and get on him.
Hope for the best, huh?
But, you know, when I was 17, 18 years old, half the horses at the Oakville County Fair come out of the 25 cavy. They could have brought the whole damn cavy there, and they was all good horses.
Won the whole thing.
That won everything, you know. But
we were lucky, though. We had those good boys that worked for us, and they were good. Yeah, and it wasn't. We were very fortunate to have to get those good boys like Billy and all those guys, you know. But no, it was good. They were. And Melvin Jones was one of the great hands in the country, and those boys out of Bruno were very outstanding. And they came down, and there was a lot of those boys. They helped us a lot, I know.